check out a brief timeline. On October 27th of 2018, the first Video Vigilante session was released, The Death of H3H3 Productions. I had 13,000 subscribers and about 200 active viewers at the time. Quickly the video blew up, and it got to the point where my video and other videos throughout the community were indirectly addressed on the H3 podcast, November 16th of 2018.
I am guilty of all of those things.
Then on November 21st of 2018, I released a follow-up video to mine, where I addressed Ethan and the way that he accepted criticism. Basically saying it was a good thing, aside from the fact that he censored my name in his comment section, and I corrected one of my errors. At this point, the drama was basically over for me. I had moved on, but I later found out that on December 7th of 2018, a YouTuber named Starkiller released a video defending H3H3 and basically rebutting my video. I thought it was a good video, and I did learn a lot from it. I decided that it was worthy of a long response, which much better encapsulates my beliefs on my own video and the reasons for why I presented my arguments as I did. If you're very invested in this drama for whatever reason, I think that both the video and the write-up are worth checking out. In lieu of this video, Starkiller had pointed out some pretty fair criticism toward my video, and I added corrections to any objective mistakes that I made to the pinned comment of the original video. I would show you, but that video does not exist anymore. Now, having actually received some very constructive criticism, I went to work on making the second session of the series, which was released after 9 months of production as YouTube's Dirty Little Secret. This video I'm very proud of, and I think that it shows quite clearly that I have taken active measures to improve my content since the first session. Once again, the H3 drama was far behind me, but on December 11th of 2019, the original video that was on my channel was removed by YouTube. I basically took it on the chin and acknowledged that I was definitely in violation of the new guidelines. Within the video, I showed some circumstantial evidence that somewhat implicates H3 in the potential removal of the video, once again censoring himself heavily to avoid saying my username. And I take the opportunity to shout out Starkiller's video, something that I felt was an act of good faith. A couple months pass by, and H3H3 and Keemstar are having a feud, and it results in Keemstar uploading a version of my video that was edited. The Plunge of H3H3 Productions. It removed all of the references to killing, death, and firearms, and replaced anything like that with plunger-related words and objects. The video was up on Drama Alert for about 4 hours and 20 minutes before it was removed for violating YouTube's content policies on simulated violence.
This is fucking bullshit.
YouTube's claim that the edited video contained footage in which an individual was hunted and eventually killed is inaccurate. Within the context of the video, it's never made clear that H3 is killed, and the inclusion of the plunger makes it literally almost a joke, at least in my opinion. An opinion that was largely shared by the thousands of people who began demanding answers, accusing H3 of getting the video removed and spreading the message by re-uploading the video to the point where it was hard blocked by YouTube. This all culminated in H3 releasing a podcast on March 30th, where he directly addresses, criticizes, and reflects upon my video. And now we're here. It's been a long time coming. So, what's my reaction? It's pretty cool. There's some people saying that I got completely destroyed. There's some people saying that he completely lied, was disingenuous. And I don't think either of those are true. I think the truth is much more nuanced than that. But I'll leave that up to your interpretation, I guess. There's a lot of streamers who reacted to it since it got put up onto Drama Alert. Mizkif's my favorite right now, and he hated it, which is fine. You know, I appreciate honesty. Everyone interprets things differently. There's definitely value in having like the negative perspective. So yeah, if any streamers ever want to watch my videos, go ahead. You can monetize them. I don't care. Same goes for the H3 podcast. A lot of people were like saying, oh, he's making money off your video. Yeah, he is. He's probably going to make more money off of it than I'm going to make this whole year, to be honest. But that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. That's fair game, in my opinion. Yeah, but anybody bashing him just for covering it on the podcast, for making money on it, or for his fans shitting on me, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. You know, I dished it out, and I'm fully ready to take it. It's fine. In terms of what was said on the podcast, the first thing that I need to address is the portion with shoenice right at the end. This entire segment left like a seriously sour taste in my mouth. Essentially, H3 called in shoenice and had him say that he was the one who actually struck down both of my videos.
So it was you. You reported his videos to YouTube and got them removed.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I said, dude, you know, you should have just came and asked me.
Which is just false. The reason he gave being that I showed shoenice's son, which is not his actual son, it's my friend, who we used to say growing up looked like shoenice. The reason that's not true is because the video was taken down for simulated violence, not for like any family issue or whatever. And in the version uploaded to Drama Alert that was censored, it said young shoenice instead of shoenice's son. That leads into another claim that was made by shoenice that he had asked me to remove the skit.
I was just like, dude, can you edit it? But it already blew up.
Wait, so you talked with him?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I didn't know that you asked him to edit out the end. Why did you ask him to do that? I didn't know
I'm
that
sober, bro. Trust me, I'm sober 30 days today.
And what did he say when you asked him to remove it?
Dude, I spent hours on this. I said, dude, I know, but you shouldn't even have put me in the end of the whole thing. It's just the way it all came together.
Which is false. It's just straight up not true. I never had a conversation with shoenice about this. He never reached out to me and asked me to do that. In fact, when the video was released, shoenice had a very positive reception to it, and I interpreted it as his approval. His initial comment was positive. It was essentially saying thank you and timestamping where his video begins. Then a few hours later, he edited that comment to say thank ya. H3H3 just called. At the time when I saw that, I was like, no way. You know, so I went to shoenice's channel, and on a video that's still public, you can see that I asked shoenice, is this true? Did H3 actually call you? I wanted to say, like, that's awesome if that were the case. But he replied saying, no, it was just a joke, which I thought was weird. And that comment's still public to this day. So that's definitive proof that this comment was real. Anyway, after I asked that question, he re-edited the comment to say this. Some people thought that since he changed the channel name, I was like some conspiracy theorist trying to, like, rework history. No, that's just the fact of the situation. And I was like, okay, I guess he approves. Then, around the time when I released my response video, shoenice suddenly turned sour toward me, and he uploaded a video basically saying my video was shitty, saying that he's going to be on the H3 podcast. And
either way, the producer, they just emailed me, said, happy holidays, thanks for supporting us. Guess what? H3H3 just invited me to their podcast. I'm going to LA.
And I was like, okay, something happened, I guess. He never asked me to remove the skit. There will be no proof of that because it doesn't exist. And if he did ask me directly to remove it, I would have done it without a doubt. On the day that H3H3 uploaded their 100th episode of the podcast, the episode that shoenice wanted to be a guest on, he uploaded this video.
Hey everyone, shoenice again. Well, basically this is a message to H3H3 and gang. That dude was right. You guys are one-way cocksuckers. Either way, happy holidays, and don't ever ask me for shit in 2019, you scumbags. Thank you.
You know, I don't know what happens behind the scenes, of course. I don't know what exactly is going on through his head. And of course, I don't think anybody should direct their anger toward shoenice. That would be pretty counterproductive, but I need to show you that at least has flip-flopped in this case, and that what he said about me was untrue. What does bother me is that H3 took this as fact immediately.
Shoenice asked him to remove that part from the video.
I would have never expected that as a twist.
And then Gokanaru told him to fuck off. So who's being the bully to poor shoenice?
Yeah, that's...
Poor protected shoenice.
Wow.
What? That's crazy.
No allegedly, no, you know, just immediately entertained. That's quite funny.
Shoenice was offended that he included his child killing me. He asked him to remove it. Gokanaru told him no. Shoenice admits to taking down both of his videos, reporting it to his YouTube rep and getting them removed for harassing shoenice. To use his son like that, implying that Shu wants to kill me, and Shu wasn't cool with it. And he asked him to take it down. And Gokanaru said no.
Timestamped in the video, yeah. I see what you're doing. I imagine you justify it in your head by saying that it's a taste of my own medicine, but that medicine is long expired and belongs in the trash. At least as far as it relates to me. Hey, Future Chris here. As I've been editing this video, some new developments have occurred. shoenice has a new official Twitter account, and on there he's been making a lot of weird statements about this whole drama. Two of which are him just directly denying that he ever had any part in taking down any of my videos. So this is essentially proof that shoenice is a completely unreliable narrator, and I don't really think that much he says can be taken at face value, unfortunately. So all of the claims that he made about me should absolutely be redacted. Now, shoenice has said that H3 did not tell him what to say when he came on the podcast, but given all that H3 knows about shoenice, to so eagerly use shoenice's testimony like that, it's my opinion that he actually didn't care about the truth. He would much prefer that shoenice came and said what he said than tell the truth, because now the vast majority of his audience believes that shoenice took down the videos and that I refuse to respect his request. And it's no secret that shoenice is somewhat desperate for attention, because yeah, he needs it, you know, he's trying to live off of this stuff. And Ethan fully knows that, and you can see even they include the email that shoenice sent them. And it's clear that shoenice above all wants a shout out, almost as like compensation. So, I don't know. I think it's, nice to see shoenice on the podcast, but when he's used kind of to further H3's agenda, I don't know if that's proper. That's, in my opinion, I don't like that. And I think that really aligns with what I was saying in the original video of Ethan using people when it's convenient.
A few months ago, the video was removed by YouTube for creator-on-creator simulated violence.
Wait, what?
shoenice admits to taking down both of his videos, reporting it to his YouTube rep and getting them removed for harassing shoenice. The video was removed for creator-on-creator simulated violence. So it was you reported his videos to YouTube and got them removed. The video was removed for creator-on-creator simulated violence.
And also, Shu confirming that he was the one that got it taken down?
Yeah.
Dude, that was crazy.
Fuck off. Apparently it was all shoenice. But I totally...
Well, make up your mind, Ethan. Was it taken down for the new simulated violence guidelines like YouTube themselves confirmed, or was it taken down by shoenice, who provided you no evidence of ever having reported any of my videos, and who you've called in the past desperate, insane, and a recipient of serious brain damage? Come on, man. Keep your narratives in check. It's only a 3-hour-long podcast. When he clicks the video tab, you can see that my username is in his history.
Obviously, somebody typed it in on this laptop. I agree with that. I don't know who it was. I mean, a lot of people use this laptop, so. But the circumstantial evidence is clearly damning, but I will say that, no, I didn't have anything to do with it. I love that you guys think I have her under my thumb, but unfortunately, that's the only time I've spoken to her, and we did not discuss Gokanaru.
Okay. That's all you had to say, man. You didn't need to censor so much and be so careful. That's basically, literally all that needed to be said. That is valuable information. That's good to know. I'm going to go through each chapter real quick just because I don't want to drag this out. It's a dead issue more or less in my mind, but yeah, there's some things I want to clarify.
In that video, I did make a mistake by referring to Leafy as my friend.
This was Leafy's idea to destroy Pyrocynical.
And that was what you meant right when you tweeted at Pyro while you was
Yes,
doing
of
live.
course. I mean, the opposite happened. I said, this is stupid, I don't want to do it.
So for this chapter, Ethan points out that there was never proof he had conspired with other YouTubers to take down Pyro, aside from his conversation with Leafy. And that in my video, I cite Leafy and Pyro to say that he did. And in hindsight, I definitely see that was an error. I want to say, though, that this wasn't an act of bad faith. I think it more so shows that I had tunnel vision and a clear confirmation bias, something I'd definitely be more careful about today. I think my bias was mainly because Chapter 1 is a setup for Chapter 9, the finale, where, that Leafy rant is used to contradict your treatment toward shoenice, which I'll get into later. I remember at the time I actually sided closer with you than Leafy. And the main thing that changed was how I saw you were treating shoenice. I interpreted that as this guy's been disingenuous the whole time, or your character has diminished over time. So I didn't put it past you. As far as the DMs go, I've never been able to find the full proper DM list. In my head, I was thinking that you handled the idea toward Leafy to make the exposed video, and Leafy was the one saying he's gonna make it, but neither of you did. And yeah, that was presumptuous on my part. I agree.
At this point, I'll totally own that this was a really bad take and a huge mistake. I was definitely hypocritical in this moment. That's true. I'll own that. I think I was too cocky and confident. And yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I was way too cocky, and that whole episode was outrageous. I'm just going to say this is the most embarrassing thing I've ever done. This was awful. I was fully in the wrong. I mean, there's no question about it. And it's just awful. I really feel bad that I spoke ill of Scares. Fully with you on this one,
That he sounded like he was very comfortable using it. And then there's footage, man.
You're right.
Of you
Totally
being
right.
super comfortable. Chapter 2 and 3 you concede on, which, all right. You should always support your friends.
No.
No.
I mean, I disagree with that premise.
So do I. I mean, you pause it before I complete the sentence, and it's very clearly sarcastic.
You should always support your friends.
When they have more subs than you and public opinion is on your side.
Oh. Wouldn't that go against his theory that he's leading to is that I criticized PewDiePie when he said the N-word. So I was going against public opinion.
No, you were going completely in line with public opinion. You jumped on the hot topic and chastised PewDiePie condescendingly after he had already apologized. You made a spectacle of your friend's mistake and were shown to be hypocritical. That's why public opinion turned on you, not because you didn't approve of him saying the M-word. You got a guest cameo from PewDiePie.
Even if you're friends, you can still criticize. I know what I did was wrong.
The whole podcast was definitely a mistake, and I do apologize for dogpiling on you.
People on the internet really like to get mad for other people's sake. I get that a lot.
Didn't really add much, but I understand that the guest cameos are more for your audience and, you know, just to show people that the people I featured in my video don't really care, which I never make the argument that you like ruined their life or anything. I'm just displaying the way that you treated them, which was largely poorly, at least in my eyes. Their cameos are much more of a PR projection than they are a reflection of my criticism. All of them except for JonTron, which it's actually pretty valuable information that JonTron was well aware that you would be discussing the topic. And yeah, I think that was actually a good cameo to have.
You didn't blindside me, basically. But no, we talked about going over the topic. It was kind of sensitive. But was there malice, blindsiding? I don't think so. I know not so.
How could you say I don't think so?
I realized it came off wrong.
Come on.
JonTron literally looks like he's stuck in an episode of Black Mirror or some kind of insane asylum with a gun pointed to his cock.
This was not a situation of malintent. I can say that for a fact.
I take your word for it. But at the time, I don't think that ruined what I was saying. What we saw on screen was JonTron being very visibly uncomfortable with you continuing to pry into this line of questioning, and John continually asking you to stop, and you continuing. That's very clear to see, and it was a very clear example of you not really caring about John's wishes.
Yeah, I should have definitely just moved on. That's for sure. I understand how he could read into it and see that, but lacking the context of the episode and speculating that I just blindsided him is not true.
It's edited to make the whole thing even worse. You know,
yeah, I mean,
with
it was
like
a full podcast, and he's just cutting awkward looks and stuff.
Yeah, looking way too deep into some like facial expressions.
I agree with this criticism, actually. It's totally fair. Starkiller had pointed out that I cut this portion too liberally, and I had made that clear in the pinned comment of the original video. But yeah, I was just trying to juxtapose the parts where John was asking him to not continue with this line of questioning, and then where Ethan would continue.
He does cringy comedy, and that's how we found him. And
so it's not
that is the relationship, you know. It's not like
he's unaware of that.
Right.
That's the whole purpose. He wants to be with us. He wants to interact with us, knowing that we're always just goofing on him. So why should I? That's the expectation he had coming in.
But it's all fine. It's all with good.
Yeah, it's with peace and love.
Yeah.
People on the chat were going like, "Get him out of there! Get him out of there!"
Yeah.
Pull him!
We were reacting to that. I agree, it was super awkward, and honestly, we probably shouldn't have kicked him out. But this whole thing, he's just a poor old man, is so crazy. It's just so bad faith argument.
I genuinely don't understand how this could be a bad faith argument. In the video, I even tell people to watch it themselves and form their own opinion, because it really speaks for itself, in my opinion. You know, while it helps to know that Twitch chat was encouraging you, I don't really think that changes the fact that you were a complete dickhead. Way more so than any of the episodes you did with him prior. Like, the tone was not lighthearted at all. I really do think it speaks for itself.
I mean, this criticism is just strange that I have notes.
Yeah.
I mean, why is that a criticism?
To me, it was pretty obvious I wasn't criticizing the fact that you had notes. It was that you stuck so closely to the script and did not care about what the people you were asking these questions were actually saying. You weren't playing off what they were saying. You were just continuing with what you wrote down. And I use this to refer to the JonTron and William Osmond episodes to show instances where you clearly cared more so about following a script than you did about showing respect to your guests. And particularly with the Jimmy Lee episode, it shows some demeaning jokes that you prepared in advance. And when you had finished blasting through all the points on the script, you just decided to kick him out. You know, I think that's a very fair reason to bring it up.
We started having this back and forth with Jimmy Lee to the point where we actually collabed with him, which goes against your original claim, by the way, that I haven't collabed with any small YouTubers.
Yeah, I personally don't consider Jimmy Lee a YouTuber. He only has 8 public videos from before he went on the podcast. And yeah, I just considered him like more of an entertainer who uses YouTube to show some of his stuff. Like, would you call Bill Burr a small YouTuber? No. That's just my opinion.
You have to go watch the video I made with him. You don't understand. That is his existence.
It feels like you're just saying the reason you treated him like shit was that he's a kind of shitty guy and that you've always treated him like shit. You showed clips of his stand-up, just like you did on the actual podcast. The difference is when he's doing his stand-up, he's performing, okay? And on the podcast, he was talking to you like a very normal human being. And then you skipped over it, but the Dance Monkey Dance portion of that, you activated his Jimmy Lee mode, right? Just so that you could treat him like shit and kick him out. That reflects very poorly on your character, in my opinion, still. But again, that's a subjective thing, yeah, and I feel like I backed that up at least a decent amount. Of course, it's nice to have your perspective on it, but yeah, I don't really think I'm totally in the wrong on having that perception.
I never had a problem with you, but I think people that watched it did, and some people said you're mean, and some people said I'm mean, and it was like a catch-22.
Of course, Jimmy Lee wasn't that bothered by it. He seems like a very resilient man.
And I should 100% have given you your own episode.
Honestly, at the end of the day, like, I don't really care.
William Osmond was similar in the sense that, of course, he doesn't actually care anymore. But I understand viewers like feel very sympathetic toward him after watching my video, so you just want to clear the air on that like there's no hard feelings. I understand that, but yeah, as far as it pertains to my arguments, it doesn't change them. I think honestly this was my most reasonable chapter, where I'm basically saying you stuck too closely to the script and it resulted in much worse podcasts where you treated people poorly, especially those who were lesser than you in notoriety.
The decision to not have me on longer probably stemmed from maybe not thinking that it would be like as interesting to the podcast audience, which I totally get. Like, as a content creator, you have to try to figure out what people want to see, because at the time it was, it was a much smaller channel.
This pretty much goes completely in line with what I was saying in the video, that William got less time on the podcast because he was a small YouTuber. And I want to note that William did comment on the original video, and I did favorite his comment. And he more or less said the same thing here that he did in the comments, so it's not really a surprise.
At the time, though, it was maybe a little bit of a bummer to have not been included more, but that doesn't really, change the way, like, you guys have been nice to me, even, like, especially that day or after the fact.
And yeah, you apologize to William, he's going to be on the next podcast. That's epic. Good. I mean, it's a good outcome.
I don't know how you can watch this and then say I'm superior. I mean, I see the opposite. I don't see me being superior. I see me just being very insecure, which is what I was.
Oh yeah, and Bill Burr, I don't know if you purposefully, misinterpreted it, or I don't exactly know what was happening with that, but I felt like it was pretty obvious to display that Bill Burr was an example where you were not in your element, because Bill Burr was above you, whereas William Osmond and then Jimmy Lee were well below you, and so you treated them disrespectfully, whereas with Bill Burr, suddenly you're all over the place, and your superiority complex shriveled up. So I think I laid the case out pretty well, and there was a lot of points where the damning elements you just skipped right over, right? Like you extending the title after adding William's name, and this two-panel comparison between you talking to Jimmy and you talking to Bill Burr, skipping over it and not addressing it. While I understand, it makes you look a little bit like this is more of a defense than an honest reaction, which is the case. It's a defense, and that's fair. You're allowed to do that. I'm just allowed to also call you out on that. There were a handful of moments during the podcast where I would make, what I assume Ethan registers as like a good point, and instead of addressing the point, he'll just address something stupid about it.
I know.
Like the guy was racist, that his jokes, that were clearly jokes, were racist. And then 5 minutes after the old guy leaves, he says this.
The old guy leaves for banning dabbing.
There it is.
That was a brutal dab. That was like a fucking jihad dab. That was like a fucking straight up Allah Akbar dab.
Here we go. We're going in slow-mo now.
Wind up.
Whoa!
That was a brutal dab.
Damn.
Wasn't that about how they banned dabbing in Saudi Arabia or some shit?
Remember?
That was a really brutal dab. Dude, that's when the bombs go off.
I don't know if that's blatant deflection or if that's just how his brain copes with a good point being made against him that he wasn't prepared for, but it's really easy to undermine a good point by just like fully not acknowledging it and addressing some other like random distraction or like talking over it or skipping through it. But I do want to point it out because it does absolutely undermine what I'm saying.
Employee. Ooh.
He keeps referring to Dan too as an employee. If you've done your research, this is Dan.
Yeah, Hila, don't worry. I know who Dan is. I just pointed out that he was an employee to show his bias in your favor. Speaking of which, let's take a look.
I had seen one of the many follow-up videos that this guy has done.
I've only made 2 follow-up videos, and I think that both were very much warranted.
That was crazy!
Well,
just to full disclosure. Like, he's aware of that is a false statement.
Hey, thanks for giving full disclosure, Dan.
That was crazy! This is a small point, but I do want to say, just because he keeps saying it, it was longer than 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, Daniel, you said that with a lot of confidence. Let's take a look and see. Okay, so from the moment William's introduced...
Beanie himself, William Osmond, The owner?
We're 30 minutes and 47 seconds into the podcast. Then we can skip to the point where Ethan first signals for him to leave.
Anyway, thank you, dude. God bless. They really appreciate you coming out here.
Thank you.
At 50 minutes and 51 seconds, effectively ending his segment at 20 minutes and 4 seconds. He lingered, of course, until 54 minutes in, totaling his time on the podcast at 23 minutes and 13 seconds, if you want to get technical. But that whole portion of time, he did not seem very welcome at all. So I think it's very fair and correct to say that William only had 20 minutes.
So, again, for all of that research, it's just like kind of fudging the number.
Wrong.
Right
How
there.
long was it? Like 25 minutes?
I think it was a little bit longer than that even. It was close to a half hour. That was crazy. You're rounding down.
Yeah.
To make it seem bad.
Look, I don't really care if you make a mistake so long as you like try and correct yourself after the fact as best you can. But if you're going to try and nitpick me on something as stupid as that, you'd better at least be correct. And this isn't the only moment where they try to discredit the video by pointing out something irrelevant. They're doing it throughout the whole thing.
I'm going to be honest with you, dude. The sketches are pretty... Well, here, let me show you a little bit.
where my brother is?
Oh shit, I forgot I had him. It's actually in my closet if you want to see him.
Okay. I keep people in my closet.
Yeah, that's what the sketches are like.
What? What are they like? Bro, if you have criticism for the skits, please just have the balls to say it, because giving this nothing criticism, like literally pointing out nothing wrong with it but implying there's something wrong with it, that's pretty cowardly. You know, if you don't like them, just say you don't like them. But if you're going to be honest and then not say anything, just to undermine an aspect of the video that's irrelevant to the criticism, I'm going to mention it. You know, if you're going to act like the gatekeeper of comedy, you'd better at least give me some decent feedback. In the podcast following...
What was that? Why did he like started filming and didn't cut it out when he had food in his mouth? What happened to spending hundreds of hours editing?
Bruh. This is kind of a funny nitpick, to be honest. Not only is that not at all an error, it was left in on purpose, but this is the equivalent of me pointing out that you have like a quotation error in your video about Keemstar, and then trying to discredit the editing you put into the whole video.
You didn't cut the part where you were still chewing food? I gotta go back. Eating food in the beginning of this clip.
In the podcast...
Why didn't he cut that? He should have spent more hours editing.
I've got to say, I find it funny that Roberto Blake decided to put these timestamps and didn't even include William's cameo. I wonder if it's because William didn't defend Ethan well enough, and so it wasn't worth timestamping. When you look at it, all the timestamps are pretty much just the points that are the most favorable for Ethan. If you need any more proof that this is a defense video, you can thank Roberto.
And I says, George, is it true that you were telling people that I stole the idea for Vape Nation? In short, he says no. He said, I did not say that. I've never said that.
The bonus goof, I'm just glad we have an answer for that now. I mean, it wasn't that hard, right? You could have probably addressed that a long time ago, but there you go. Now, I believe you, you know. I didn't agree with what Chad said in the video. Why did I include it? I just personally wanted to know the answer, and now I do. Would I have ever gotten an answer if I hadn't included it in the video? Probably not. So, in that aspect, I guess I succeeded. I will say on this point that I acknowledge in the Starkiller video that I didn't expect so many people to take that Vape Nation thing as a fact, and that in the future I'd be much more clear when I'm covering unproven accusations. The podcast makes a fuck ton of money.
That's one reason. The other reason, which I've said many times, is that I just lost interest in making the same old videos. We just kind of moved on to something else, right? We decided we wanted to do this. The podcast was more fresh and exciting and fun, and yes, more lucrative too, which is all the more reason to continue to invest ourselves in it.
Oh yeah, 6 was a bad chapter, straight up, and that was like very poorly structured, very poorly articulated. Absolutely, I agree with you on that. One of the biggest regrets of the video was that chapter, because I did not get my point across concisely at all. And I cite Cow Chop, which is funny because they like basically went bankrupt. Ironic, yeah. It was not about you not being allowed to make money. The main idea from it was that on the podcast, I just felt like you were completely careless, and it was almost like the more money you made, the less you cared, or the less content you actually provided. It's basically the criticism. Yeah, just so it's expressly clear, I have no issue with people making money. And the length of the ad breaks, I think, is a totally valid criticism. And you basically acknowledge that you guys have reduced the length. So also having 4 sponsor reads in a YouTuber's podcast is a lot by any standard. I guess you're comparing what to Joe Rogan? Okay, but I wasn't watching Joe Rogan. I was watching the official podcast and other YouTubers.
No, I'm so happy. Seems like you're doing all right for yourself.
Yeah, we got some walls. We got some curtains.
We're trying.
What?
You know, you really didn't like that.
What? I had no problem with that. I was just goofing around.
That is the cringiest connection I think I'll ever make in my life right there. Yeah, that was a grasp at straws for sure. I'm glad you pointed it out because that has bothered me since the video's been out. It's so bad.
So we are going to skip chapter 7 and 8.
Oh shit, man. You said you react to it in full on Twitter. What happened? I mean, I understand the time constraint, but if you're going to advertise it on Twitter as you reacting to it in full, then you should have reacted to it in full. You could have easily fit it in if you had just avoided criticizing a bunch of irrelevant parts.
Because chapter 7's about that I'm not funny.
Well, it's more about the fact that you're so repetitive with your jokes that they become unfunny and almost hypnotic. And I also mentioned that you constantly use sarcastic, backhanded compliments to undermine people without fear of criticism.
Then chapter 8 is about that we sometimes misreport things and get information wrong. And that I totally own. I own it. You're right. I get stuff wrong all the time on this podcast. So that's fine.
So you skip chapter 7 and 8, which is okay. But yeah, anybody obviously watching the podcast who hasn't seen the original or doesn't remember the original vividly, of course they're not going to be able to appreciate the true level of your contradictory ability. You know, those chapters make you look bad, especially chapter 8, which I would have liked if you had addressed directly, because I think that that's still one of the biggest issues with your podcast. Not that I'm like super up to date on it. The misinformation you deliver is damaging, and you do not make any effort to correct it at all. No pinned comment like you proposed Mudahar should do.
I really need to point this out again, that this video is up. No comment, no nothing. Views are still going up. People are still seeing this without any correction made to it at all.
No, it seems like you almost don't care a lot of the times, and I think that's a absolutely valid criticism that still holds up to this day.
As it is, with every cycle, there is a beginning and an end. We've seen the beginning, we've seen the meat, and I believe the end is here. There's only one man who could usher in the end of this cycle, indeed the end of humanity itself. Is he the rider of the apocalypse? No. He's a mortal man. He goes by one name, Shoenice.
And then chapter 9 was Shoenice. I just fundamentally disagree with you. Yeah, if you believe what you're saying, then that's okay. That's up to you. But the way that I perceived it, man, was that you continually provided them false hope of coming onto your podcast. You know, you position it as if my main point is that you're not allowed to interact with Shoenice, when my main point was very clearly that you offered Shoenice a continual role on the podcast in the form of the Goof Gang.
I want you to be part of this show, Shoenice. I think you have what it takes to be the first official member of the H3 Goof Gang. Again, he's like SJWing for Shoenice. You can't say anything about Shoenice. He's a alcoholic.
Fragile.
Position of guarding. He's like guarding. Yeah, he's so fragile, the poor Shoenice. This edgy kid is so offendable for Shoenice.
You know, I felt like you tried to spin it too hard on me being an SJW for Shoenice. I do point out the fact that you mocked his alcoholism and his mental issues, but I make it clear that's not the main issue that I'm discussing.
Dude, Shoenice is my dog. I don't know what you're talking about.
I kind of find it weird that you use this as a defense, because at the time of my video, you were not friends with Shoenice. Your interactions with him were primarily mocking him on the podcast. And while I definitely acknowledge that your relationship has evolved since my video, for the better, to try and discredit the video because you're now friends just feels kind of cheap, because yeah, it was released 1.5 years ago and was addressing current issues at that time. And you do this a bunch of times throughout the podcast, positioning what I'm saying as like an old issue or something that's been fixed, as if that's my fault that you've evolved since my video came out. You know, I guess it does work on your audience, because for them, this is the first time they're hearing of the video. And the way that you build up the game show segment, kind of saying it's like a gotcha moment, that Shoenice actually did have a hand in the creation of that segment.
Yeah.
And this proves to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is a bad faith criticism. But what he doesn't tell you is that Shoenice was a willing participant in this segment. And he provided the answer to all the questions.
Yeah, I don't believe that to be in bad faith. I show a screen cap of the video so anyone can check it out themselves. You know, I'm clearly not trying to hide anything. And it was made unclear, but Shoenice was not in the call for this.
Know your meme. I won't be on the show, but I'll be the topic.
What he was playing on the podcast for answers were sound bites of Shoenice speaking.
So let's go to the answer books itself. Got to be a little more slick and prompt these up more on time. Here we go. This is really fucking this up. Okay.
Yeah, well, what happened is
And while I definitely understand that that could be seen as a context issue, it's not clear at all that Shoenice was the one who chose these questions. On top of that, Shoenice participated in this with the assumption that there would be more opportunities to actually be on the podcast in the future.
That's right. I'm probably going to be an employee of H3H3.
So of course he let you rag on him as much as you want, because he wanted to be a more involved member of your show. You know, you got his hopes up from inviting him to the Goof Gang in this video, before the game show. And in the game show, you say this.
Shoenice, I'm telling you, this guy is a legend. I think he is going to be the first official member of the Goof Troop.
And then that was it. You kicked the ladder and ghosted him.
And he kind of set it up as if you had led him on.
So actually, yeah, Dan, you guys did lead him on.
Failing to include this part that he was led on. We did a segment with him, just like you said that you would. That was crazy.
So the crux of your hypocrisy, and the real reason why this inspired me to make the video, was that you provided false hope to a man with both mental and substance abuse issues. I'm sorry, shoenice, but that's, you know, I tell it how it is. Now, knowing what I know now about shoenice, would I have painted him as such a victim? Maybe not. But when you contrast the leafy rant...
He has made fun of someone who actually has a mental disability, bullying someone who has obviously, like, eating disorder. The guy needs help, support, not fucking ridicule by 1,000 raging kids on the internet.
With your behavior then, Ethan?
And I'm pretty sure he's drunk all the time. He gets drunk. He's done this about 20 times. Makes this anti-Semitic ramble, and then he erases it when he sobers up. So I'm kind of into, like, shoenice hate videos now.
To me, that paints a very, very clear picture of your character at the time. And saying it was good-natured fun, that's pretty brave. Especially when you see the depressing videos that shoenice was releasing.
Well, basically, this video is to accept Ethan and Hila's invitation to be the first official member of the goof gang that they're forming. Yeah, I kind of misunderstood what Ethan was saying on his podcast when he said, we need you here. You're just an epic goofy guy. Shoenice, me and Hila would just like to offer you a public apology. Yeah, we were trolling you again. There's no goof gang guy. We just want you to, you know, not wait for us to call or email you. We appreciate you not bothering us this time. You're just easy to get, bro. You know what I mean?
So who's being the bully to poor shoenice?
Yeah, that's...
You. And I think that deep down you somewhat agree with that, because you completely skipped over the portion that talked about you offering him to join the goof gang.
Howard Stern whack pack that we want to build of our own. Shoenice is like... Anyway, you know what? I've seen enough. I get it.
Yeah. And I don't imagine that was done by accident.
Hey, that's speculation.
Yeah, I guess so. Sure, I'll speculate all over you.
H3. I won't make videos just calling other YouTubers crazy. I'll actually support him and put him on the show when he promises them. I got your goof gang, brah. Goof gang, did not.
I think that's
supposed to be you.
Yeah, I think that's the back of Shoe's head. I kind of remember when he uploaded this.
Oh, that's Shoe.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And he like green screened himself into the set.
Considering that from a PR perspective, you just can't own up to like playing mind games with a desperate dude who has substance abuse issues, I understand that you're just very willfully blind of this portion. And yeah, the ending skit, there's nothing really to say about it. You can criticize it as much as you like, but it really has not much of anything to do with the criticism in the video. So yeah, there have been some people saying like, how could you make those skits? They're disturbing. You have kids watching you. And that's just not true. The vast majority of my audience is older than me. Okay, I'm 21. And yeah, I think that I should have full license to make as mature content as I want, basically. But I did agree that the skits like were too much, and I would be smarter about it in the future. Yeah, you referenced Keemstar a few times, and I think that's just a part of your squabble. It doesn't really have anything to do with my video, and I didn't make the video for Keemstar, of course.
Gokanaru is cool with Keemstar, who accused shoenice of being a child rapist publicly. He gets a pass, but I'm the biggest asshole in the world for bullying poor shoenice.
Yeah, this was a dumb argument. Just because Keemstar uploaded my video doesn't mean that I don't think he's a dumbass every time that he airs unvetted rape accusations without proof. Obviously, he deserves to be criticized for that, just as you do for treating shoenice the way that you did in this instance. And while you leaked your DMs with Keemstar to show the time in 2016 when these allegations apparently happened, and while I definitely respect the fact that you stood up for shoenice in that instance, like 100%. In those messages, you make it clear that you're aware shoenice is in a desperate situation, one where he'll basically do anything for attention. And so for you to later hang this goof gang opportunity over his head, get him on a segment and then ghost him, yeah, I think you totally deserve to be criticized for that, at least at the time. You know, just because Keemstar does something wrong that I'm not aware of doesn't negate the fact that you did something wrong that I was aware of and that I did point out. I feel like at the time there's a lot of info I was kind of missing out on just because I wasn't an active Twitter user. I didn't start using Twitter properly till like after the video came out and I actually got some attention and I learned how it works. And yeah, I learned that that's where the majority of Keemstar's takes end up being posted. Hey, Future Chris with one more update. You may remember at the start of this video when I said that the plunge of H3H3 was uploaded to Drama Alert and then taken down? Well, a new development has occurred. Keemstar posted a video to Twitter apologizing for uploading it.
I have been suspended from the YouTube Partnership Program for 2 weeks.
despite his channel having no prior violations.
That is how strict YouTube is on the bullying and harassment guidelines.
Now, H3 actually had a public discussion with me about this on Twitter, and I just want to say I'm actually, sorry that I contributed to this bad precedent, because this feels like it's going to be bad for commentary. And while it is kind of funny that I ended up doing, inadvertently, more damage to Keemstar's channel than H3 did, it's also definitely a sign of the times. YouTube is not messing around with these new guidelines. The biggest thing I take away is that you are a hypocrite. You actually did not disprove that at all throughout my video. Maybe, I think 1 or 2 points, yes. But other than that, you skipped over every instance, basically, where I called you a hypocrite. I mean, it is kind of undeniable that you are one. Whatever. Yeah, everyone's a hypocrite sometimes, but doesn't mean you shouldn't call them out for it, so it's my stance, at least. Some good memes came out of it. Broken Arrow, that's hilarious. Clean My Room. Speculation Gang. What else? Bad Faith. I'm going to make that my first merch line. Bad Faith. It sounds kind of cool, to be honest. And I know it's funny, the research meme, but yeah, I did my best at the time, for sure. And all I can do is be more careful going forward. And it's a good thing. I'm glad that I get called out on it. Makes me more careful. The vast majority of Ethan's criticisms I already knew about because of the Starkiller video. After that Starkiller video, I realized the main thing I needed to work on was tone and the way that I structure my arguments, which again is useful information. I can say I have improved on that.
What he's doing and what he's attempted to do throughout all this is to speculate about what my intentions are and what I meant and what I did.
Yeah, that's true, and I would probably rely less heavily on speculation in the future, but speculation is usually the foundation of most criticism videos. You know, it should be implied that obviously I don't know your exact intent, and that when I say it with confidence, it's just my assumption, based on the evidence I'm presenting. Now, you can definitely say that given the evidence you disagree with what I'm saying, but to just write it off as speculative and then not address a lot of the points I'm making feels somewhat cheap. Because yeah, a lot of my speculation are common conclusions that most people would come to given the evidence I'm presenting. Except for a few areas like the Leafy and Jontron section where I was definitely too confident in my assertions. But yeah, you already know this because your recent Content Nuke video is full of speculation. You know, you're constantly speculating about Keem's intent and building upon your arguments to support your claims, just as I was. There are even some instances where you make pretty questionable speculations, such as when Keemstar interviewed Swatistic, the dude who got an innocent person killed by swatting. You know, you speculated that Keemstar's main goal was to make money and that he only pretended to be outraged.
The day after this murder happened, was able to get this kid on his show, fully monetized. Keemstar cashed in big time on this whole ordeal. And can we appreciate the irony of Keemstar, of all people, to sit here and pretend to be outraged when he enables this kind of behavior all the time?
Not addressing that in the same video he promoted the GoFundMe of the victim's family, donated $1,000, and successfully got a confession out of the killer, who's now in prison.
But on a personal level, I understand why he would try to manipulate things. Because he goes, look, I'm just trying to make a good video. People aren't going to watch it. When you have 1 million+ subs, then you understand that you have more responsibility to say things straight or to have more care.
So don't act like just because I was a small channel I didn't feel the obligation to have integrity. While portions of my video were definitely messy and reflected my skill at the time, channels with millions of subs speculate and spin narratives and get sloppy with the details all the time, including yourself. Fuck, it's time to wake up. Now when you look up the title of the video, you get their podcast episode, a family-friendly version, and then all of the clips of Ethan addressing each chapter, so the video is pretty much dead. It's a very smart move titling it like that, Ethan. That's a 5-head finesse. I respect that. I respect it so much that you actually inspired me. So now you can go to the Gokanaru Clips YouTube channel to find clips of this video, but in smaller chunks, to make it so that YouTube recommends my clip after all of H3's highlights. Subscribe and I'll post, But yeah, the video is outdated because just so much has changed, right? It's been like 1.5 years. I believe Shoenice has had his own podcast. I'm not caught up on everything. I've been busy. Ethan's obviously taken multiple steps to rectify some of the situations that I laid out. That's basically it. This video, I think, has fulfilled its purpose almost as perfectly as I could have imagined, like ever. Like almost insanely. There are more relevant criticism videos of you coming out, and yeah, I'm content with just letting it die, you know? I've got much better content coming and I'm fucking amped for it. And I'd like to say that I have started a Patreon, so any money that goes into there will be contributed toward the Hong Kong series I am working on, which is going to be an undertaking. It's already an undertaking, and I'm sorry it's taking so long, but I'm trying to be careful, you know? Yeah, the world's really chaotic right now, and I'm going to try my best to capture some of that. Whatever, man. That's all I got for you. But honestly, like, I'm just glad it's done, man. And the reason that I'm documenting all this shit is because I feel like, again, this video could get no fucking views, but I have a premonition that there's a good chance this will make things more interesting. When I first decided that I would attempt to create a content cop on H3H3, I knew it was a delusion of grandeur. I had tried for years to get a following on my channel and had failed, frankly. This was basically one Hail Mary and one like shout into the void to really see if I could pull it off by giving it my all. You know, at the time it was just an idea that was in my head. And while I was lucky to have a lot of people help me in the production, none of them really knew what the hell I was doing. And I honestly didn't either. This was one of the best learning experiences I could have ever asked for. And now that the circle's made another revolution, I'd like to give my honest opinion about the video that started all this. You know, firstly, I'd like to thank everybody who's given me any form of feedback ever. While I'm starting to grow numb to it, I can tell you that at that time, every word weighed worlds in my mind. I also like to thank everyone who's made critical videos of it, primarily Starkiller. He provided me a good mirror to establish what needed to be improved. And I'd even like to thank H3, because it is, you know, somewhat of an honor. Thanks to you guys, I can finally see my video for what it was. A passionate but flawed character assassination. In it, I can confidently say that I proved my thesis of H3 not being able to take criticism and being a hypocrite. I can say that I made something entertaining, with plot points well woven to create a good payoff for viewers, and that I delivered a lot of what I believe to be very valid criticism that did reflect the sentiment of the time. I can also see that it's an incendiary video, made to be abrasive, almost offensively so, and that my tone often undermined my criticisms, as did both my objective errors and some areas where context was not established very well. These are all elements that I have improved on and will continue to improve on as I move forward to complete my own revolution. To be completely honest, if you had told me 2 years ago that I would create a video that would have this much impact, that would get uploaded to Drama Alert, that would get taken down twice, that would get millions of views, only to ultimately be dissected by the very person I sought to destroy, alongside a panel of YouTubers with an accumulated total subscriber count of almost 130 million, I would not have believed you. And honestly, that's pretty fucking cool. And, with all said and done, to come back to a bridge long burned, knowing I was the one who lit the match, and seeing the person on the other side, I wonder what they... And there's really only one thing to say to that.
I live the American dream vicariously through various media outlets. I sit and stare at the screen, staring and screaming and shouting, and I speak good red heat.
I would love to see Gokanaru come back and try to exist in the landscape today. Like, the content that he was making would never fly on YouTube today, and you have to adapt and overcome the fact that, like, you can't even curse, bro. Like, I don't know.
I can now finally replace my desktop background. What a beautiful image.